আমি অনন্যা।
আমি অনন্যা।
আমি অনন্যা।
আমি অনন্যা।
আমি অনন্যা।
আমি অনন্যা।
নারী অনন্যা, তার পাশে দাঁড়ান, তাকে ঘরে বাইরে অনন্যা হয়ে উঠতে দিন।
এমনটা ভেবেই যে অনন্যা নাম নিয়েছিলাম তা কিন্তু নয়। আমি কেবল ভেবেছিলাম মেয়েদের জন্য একটা কিছু করব, একটা প্ল্যাটফর্ম, একটা আলাদা প্ল্যাটফর্ম, সবার কথা বলবো। প্রায় 3 দশক আগের কথা। তখন ক্ষমতায় ছিল স্বৈরশাসক। মিছিল সমাবেশের উত্তাল সময়, হাটে মাঠে বন্যার পানিতে থই থই। আর দুর্যোগ মানে তো নারীর বড় বিপদ। তাই প্রথম কভার বন্যা নিয়ে। আর আপনি যদি আমার কাছে জানতে চান কেমন সমাজ আমি চাই, কি চায় অনন্যা, তাহলে আমি বলবো, চলুন না সবাই মিলে একটা সমাজ করি, যেখানে নারী পুরুষ সকলেই এক কাতারে হাঁটবেন, একেবারে পাশাপাশি।
Welcome everyone to the 19th episode of Shilpokotha. Shilpokotha is a unique program where every Saturday 9 p.m. we invite two speakers from the creative world to share their journey with us. And like every other Saturday, we also have two exciting speakers with us today from Nepal. With no further delay, I would like to invite them and start today's episode. We have Ashmina Ranjit with us and Sheelasha Rajbhandari with us today. We're taking a few seconds to put them on screen.
Hi.
Hi,
Good evening.
Hi, Ashmina. Welcome to the
Good
show.
Thank you. Thank you for having us here.
Thank you for being here. It's a pleasure to have you both.
Thank you.
So I'll start with Ashmina. Ashmina, where you are now and how you're passing your daily routine, daily days.
As the whole world, we are kind of not really locked down, but we are locking ourselves in, hardly go out, and most of the time home. And doing some of the research, trying to do some work, and also taking a break in a way what used to do before the COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like life had changed in so many ways. In some ways, it is, I can't say it's good, better, but we are coping with it. Let's say that.
Mm-hmm. And are you born and brought up in Nepal, Ashmina?
Yeah. I was born and brought up in Kathmandu, basically. But my father is from Pokhara, which is like western part of Kathmandu, another beautiful city. And I studied here in Nepal, Kathmandu. And then I was able to go abroad, Australia, America, and different parts of the world for the study as well as other exhibitions and things. So I was kind of in and out in that sense.
Yeah, we will come to that detail, I think.
Yeah, sure,
anyway,
sure.
your journey.
But mostly here. Yeah. Very native from here, or kind of like indigenous from Kathmandu Valley. Yeah.
What about you, Sheelasha? Where you are now and how do you spend your regular days?
I'm actually not that far away from Ashmina ji. physically, but then we haven't met each other for like physically for ages now. In Kathmandu. um, um, I'm just trying to figure out the situation, dealing with the stress and anxiety, the collective stress and anxiety. Yeah.
And like, how are you keeping yourself busy? If you're, I mean, obviously you're busy. At least I, I get to know this. I don't know everyone else, but how do you keep yourself busy these days?
It's also important to have that free space as well. Then, in a way, this situation has created that space in a way, but it's not fully free at the same time. Like platform have because of the technology, there are a lot of things which is possible nowadays. So so that is there. And along with my personal work, and I'm also co-founder of Art in Nepal, and I'm doing work for that, and then co-curating Kathmandu Triennale, and then also working for that. Meanwhile, staying in home as much as
If possible. Okay, and you were also born and brought up in Nepal?
yeah, in Kathmandu, yeah, and did my studies here.
So would you like to share us about how did you started your journey in the visual art, and what are you doing now in the sector?
Me or Sheelasha? Maybe Sheelasha can start. Yeah.
Yeah, please, Sheelasha.
So I did my intermediate, so high school, which is now high school. Back then, when I did it, was intermediate. So after doing SLC, we joined intermediate, and so I did my intermediate in Lalit Kala campus, and so we only had like three choices: either take major sculpture, major painting, or music. So I did my major in sculpture. And in entire college itself, I was the only female who was taking sculpture as major. And in fact, like Ashmina Didi used to teach, but when I entered, she had already left, but then she used to teach there. And then there were a lot of like talks about like how brilliant Ashmina Didi used to teach.
Okay. So why did you choose sculpture?
I mean, I basically like this tangible, more like things which I can touch, and then material with histories of its own. And maybe I just like it was a only choice I had in that.
Okay. I mean, yeah, anyway, there is not a lot of choices there to make, I guess. And then you started from there, and after completing your studies, how did you started your curatorial practice? Maybe you would like to talk about that.
So I did my intermediate there, and then I did my bachelor in Kathmandu University and master again in Tribhuvan University. So meanwhile, while in my student age itself, we used to sort of, because especially in the Lalit Kala campus, the study system was very, very conventional, is still, but the younger generation is changing it a little bit. So because of that, some of my senior students, and then me, and then like a bunch of students, we were not satisfied with what was given to us. And also it was a situation where we were studying about all this European Renaissance artists, Van Gogh, whatnot. But
Like
then
most of the South Asian curriculum, I guess. Yeah.
yeah, and then but it was not contextual at all, and our reality was very different from what was given to us. So through that perspective, we sort of organized workshop, did various initiatives from the student age itself, and I think from that time itself, this necessity of organizing things, organizing informations, like initiatives,
Resources, yeah.
it kind of became a root of what I'm doing now as well.
Okay. So you practice as a visual art, also as a curator now, side by side.
I'm more artist.
Okay. I would also like to come back to Art 3, how it started and what is this doing. But let's hear about the flashback from Ashmina's part. How did you start it in visual art and then what you're doing now?
I never thought I would become an artist when I was a kid or when I was a child, though my family background is artists, convinced. I mean, if we look at traditionally, we are the printmakers family line, from generation to generation. But my father is a painter. He's a well-known painter. And so I kind of grew up in the household where there were artists. And then, but I never thought about that. And since my childhood, I always wanted to fly. So I always thought I'll become a pilot so that I can be above the, sky or above the. But later I realized my wanting to become a pilot is not really about the physical flight. Rather, it is about to be free, to be who I am, especially being in the context of, highly patriarchal society. It's more Brahminical patriarchal society where women's existence is not really counted as a person or an individual, always became like the second class, or your presence is not really counted. So, so when I realized, accidentally, I just asked with my father, maybe I should go to art school, and then I went, and then I realized this is what this is the thing where I could be myself and I could say what I wanted to say. So I stuck there in the Lalit Kala campus. So I did my BFA, and when I entered, there are quite a lot of women in my class, but by the end of my BFA, I was the only one. All the other dropped out or so. And then I did really well in my BFA, kind of top the class. And I wanted to do the further study, but we didn't have MFA. And also they didn't allow to go into the another, field, like culture studies or something. Then I got really frustrated, and then I was really looking for somewhere to go, because I knew whatever we had educational wise was not enough. So I was trying to go somewhere, trying to open up and trying to kind of as much as possible, whatever to
the
gain
options are around,
options. And then I got Australia, Australian scholarship to study for 4 years. So I went to University of Tasmania. I did my second BFA. I mean, for me, certificate was not really a big thing, but to learn something different was more important. So even though I did my first BFA, then again, I did my second BFA. And then I came back. I mean, I would talk about the all artistic adventure and all these things later, but I'm just talking about the study part. So after that, I came back here, and then I applied for Fulbright, and I got the Fulbright. So I went to do my MFA from Columbia University. Came back, and I again applied for another Fulbright. I got the other Fulbright. Then I went and did the research projects and all this thing. In between, I had different opportunities to go to India and other places for different trainings and kind
For
of
sure.
things. So animation, film, filmmakings and other. So it's been in and out of Nepal, and I really enjoyed that. As Sheelasha told, like our education system is very, very Europe centric, like 18th century Europe,
Yeah.
like how they taught, and
Mm.
Indian and the whole South Asian artists, they influenced by that. And then our teachers or professors were influenced from that. So it's kind of like that tradition we're coming.
Yeah.
And it's more like from aesthetic level where you kind of um, in a way, the politically how they try to set artists should be aloof,
Yeah.
and then they really uh, take the status quo further, pro status quo, pro establish, rather than pushing onto it.
Yeah.
So that kind of art scene were there. And then when I went to art school, I started questioning. As I said, I wanted to be me, not because I wanted to do the beautiful pictures, but I wanted to be me. So I started being a vocal and questioning, and that was kind of really, not accepted, or they always question on my questioning, saying, no, you are supposed to question about,
Why you have
are
a
not
voice? Kind
you
of.
are not yeah, basically, you are not supposed to really talk about women because in art there is no gender. That's what they told me. And they always said, oh, you are not supposed to be, we artists supposed to be out of politics because we have nothing to do with politics. And I said, how come that is possible? But having said that, they wanted to kind of, they were political, but flowing with the river, whereas we were kind of trying to question and against the current how we are trying to do. And it was not really acceptable in so many ways, and questioned. Yeah, that's how. And I continuously question and still on the same road, I guess.
So what did Australia and Colombia offered you, out of the convention, out of the suffocating situation that you were explaining, and we also are facing in India, in Bangladesh, I guess, many of the students are actually having the same voice, same complaint, same suffocation. So what this other opportunities offer you? What did they offer you?
Yeah, sure. If I look at the education system itself, in the art school here in Kathmandu, it is very rote learning kind of thing. You do the still life, and you do the all conventional, as I said, Europe
figure landscaping,
things, but which is very necessary, which is very important, as a base. But they never told why we are doing that. So you just wonder about it, and you are really good with the skill. You became good with the skill, and that's there. But if you question, then you are questioned back, or you are pushed back, or you kind of, suppressed in so many ways. It is not really accepted in so many ways. Whereas in Australia, when I went there, the critical questioning and also conceptually how you bring your ideas, your concept forward, that is more important, so critiquing and critically analyzing, and also conceptually taking forward is much important. And one thing, just an example, in Nepal, in so many of the schools, still they think art history is the theory, and practically what you do is the practical. But art history and art critic, or art theory is totally different things, but they don't really take it that way. So I had the art history here, European history, we all had to do. Whereas when I went to Australia, so I did the art theory part, and it gave me kind of immense, it opened up so much wider, perspective. And also the critic session, in Asia, still, if we critic, even it is constructive, it is really, criticism is so much important part of the growth for the art and the creativity, but it is not taken positively at all. But in the Australia and also in US, the critic is the most important part. You drill someone with your critics so that they kind of come out more refined kind of thing. So that critic part was really good. And also, as I said, conceptually, how you want to take it, experimentation, it gives so much wider space to do that. So it was really great in that sense. And also later on, when I went to Colombia, it's another horizon for me to look at. And having, at that time, I always heard New York is the center of the art world. And when I went there, in a way, at that time, I was kind of disappointed because it is so much commercially driven. And whereas my take on to art is not really commercially driven, it's more like how can art be tool to bring the positive change in, as an activism, bring the positive change in the society. So that's how I was looking at. So it's kind of not really going in the same way. But later I found some of the professors which kind of gave me the confident, let's say, or kind of they gave me,
motivated
in the other way. Motivated in one way,
or encouraged you,
like that. But the other way, what I was practicing here, what I was trying to do things here, people always question about, oh, this is not art, whatever you are doing is not art. They have very limited kind of perspective on what is art and what is not. And I was pushing the boundary all the time and then going beyond what it means. So constantly redefining the notion of art. And people really question about, this is not art, this is politics, this is not art, this is something like, the lunatic kind of things, what you are doing this. So that kind of thing. And when I went there, how they kind of, I would not say really validate, but I could see people practicing same kind of things or different ways, there are much more open space for that. So it kind of give me confident in that sense, you are not alone in this world kind of thing. So which is really great. And some of the professors, Coco Fusco was there, Kara Walker was there, Janine Anthony and Rikrit Tiravajia. These are the people I was working with, It's really great in that sense to see how the political take on, how the questioning from gender perspective, but at the same time, way beyond like our existence as a marginalized, as a human being. And it's not only from the local perspective, but also from the global perspective. And which I was kind of practicing that, but kind of aloof in that sense. People were pushing somehow, but it kind of gave me that context. That's how I see.
Right. That's
your question.
Of course, that's an amazing energy and like inspiration that you share for many, I guess, like who are also suppressed in the same field and who are getting out of inspiration. I guess, I mean, what you just said can be a strong support for them, all of them.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that that has been a great support to Sheelasha and your co-fellows, Sheelasha. What do you think having someone like Ashmina in the scene where all of you could not or necessarily didn't go outside, with the same opportunities? How do you think that contributed in the local context in Kathmandu, having someone like Ashmina in the scene?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, also there definitely Ashmina ji is from this generation who really broke a lot of stereotype and took the risk. And whether people like it or not, people just cannot ignore her existence and her contributions in a way. So she's just there. The space is just there, and that definitely, like, whatever kind of reaction it is, people will have that reaction. People observe it in them, in
Mm-hmm.
different, in range of emotions, in range of intellectuality. And for me personally, as a female as well, there already is a very small number of women who takes like study art, and there's a smaller number of women who are vocal about femininity and politics. But interestingly, now the number of women are increasing, which is like great.
Yes, true.
Like when I was studying, it was still very small. And then to have somebody like Ashmina is really, really like we are very grateful that she existed, and yeah. But in terms of like studying, it was a conscious decision not to go outside in a way, because I was in when I did my master, I was a so like Ashna we said, we didn't had master's degree for the longest period of time, and we for a lot of generations from before us and then us, we had done a numerous protests demanding master's degree as a basic human right to study in our own country. And then finally, after a lot of political pressure, artistic performance protests and whatnot, it opened. And then I was the third batch, which also meant that like people who did bachelor like 25 years ago, me was also with me in the master degree, and similarly, which is like very interesting time loop in a way. And then you're like all this past, present, and possible future like coming together in one space. And because it happened, because I was the third batch, and in the first batch, there was more than 110 students in the master's degree. Was one of the most dynamic thing which happened. And then because I saw it, it was in a way very conscious decision, despite the fact that I had very good grades for scholarship, to stay here and to understand, to soak in the reality and roots. And also at the same time, I was when I was doing master, we sort of founded the Art Initiative Collective. So that was also happening, and because it was happening, I couldn't just leave at the time. But after that, I have been very active, and in fact, many months, like more than half a year, I spent outside of Nepal, like for residencies, for exhibitions, traveling. And traveling, I must say, is a very important part of artistic growth and journey, to understand other artistic cultures, other people's perspectives, histories.
Right. Sorry, we're just having a little technical problem with the streaming. So we will end right now and try to start another live. Before that, I'm just quickly going to read all the comments that we have, and stay tuned, everybody who are watching us. So we have Farah Nazmon saying, hello, Ashmina. Tayaba Begum Lipi, hello guys, glad to see you both here, looking forward. Tahia Farinhog, good to see all of you. Mozaffar Hussain enjoying the talk. Tracy City from India. Hi Ashmina Ranjit. I hope you're doing well. Good to see you after a long time. Greetings to the entire team for important conversation, and so on. So let's come back in a bit. For everyone who is watching, stay tuned. We will be right back, either in our Facebook pages or here. You'll find us in a bit. Let's come back.